Hello, brilliant people. So today I'm putting, this is another episode about how to start to work on your finances or getting the resources together so that you can live out your purpose, live more intuitively, because it is certainly easier to do that when you have some resources behind you. If for no other reason, like if intuitively you feel like you need to go to a particular workshop or travel to a particular place in the world to experience the energy there, well, you can do it if you have some resources. If you don't have the resources, then it is much harder to do it. So where we left it last time was in practicing the no budget budget so that you can start to get some savings together. Now, you might think that, once you've got some savings together, the next step is to rush out and invest it. Well, no. There's actually an important step that you have to do first. Because remember, when we're doing it when we're working on our resources from this intuitive way, we're working on it really from a viewpoint of changing our relationship with money. So that means that just like any relationship, what do we need for that relationship to be healthy? We need good boundaries. And that's what we need with our money. Now, let me explain. For most investments, and I mean proper investments, I don't mean get rich quick schemes, you'll find that most investments, in order for them to realize a decent return, those investments usually need to sit there for 7 to 15 years, roughly. In other words, investing money doesn't happen overnight. It's a slower process. You could say it's more of a nurtured process. You're nurturing your money so it can grow. But that means that it doesn't happen like that. I suppose once in a blue moon it will, if you're thinking about going and if you're thinking, oh, but if I buy a lottery ticket, no, because 90% of people who, I don't know what the exact numbers are, but roughly 90% of people who get a big windfall like that, 2 to 5 years, they're actually in a worse financial situation than when the windfall happened. And it's because, when you look at the 10% of people who still have the money or who have even grown the money, they're the people who actually had some money to start with. So even if it wasn't a lot, they had some. So their relationship with money was actually healthier before all this other money turned up. So they were able to have a healthier relationship with all of that windfall money. So you need to have a healthy relationship with your money. And just like any relationship, it will grow over time. And just like any relationship, as I said, you need a boundary. And the boundary is there because the reason why a lot of people might get themselves into trouble with making an investment. I don't know how old you are, obviously. And I don't know when you're watching this either, but, when you've been living on this planet for a while, you'll have seen downturns in various, like practically everything. Things go through cycles, ups and downs. The real estate market has obviously famously did that in the GFC. The stock market has a correction every, 10 years or so. So where people get themselves into trouble is they make these investments and then something happens and then they have to sell the investment when things are on a downturn. And that's unfortunately often when they end up losing money. So what does that mean? Well, it means that your investments, you need to actually know that your investments are kind of safeguarded and that you're not going to have to cash them in early just because, I don't know, the car breaks down or something. how do we do that? We have a buffer. So when the first thing that your savings need to do is create that buffer, create that financial boundary for you. Now, the way to work out how big a boundary you need, it's usually relative to your current income. So pre-COVID, like if you had a job that, like if you had a job, say like waiting tables or something, like if you lost one job, you could probably find another job, within a month. So for a lot of people, then having a buffer of, 1 to 3 months worth of income, that was probably enough. I work for myself. Things can go up and down. I guess in my situation, it's a little bit more comfortable to have 3 to 6 months. For some people, they like to have more. Some people, because of COVID, are now saying that, well, maybe you'd be better off having like a year's worth of income. But for a lot of people, obviously, that sounds like a lot of money. But so it's really thinking about, well, if I got myself into trouble, how long would it take me to get myself out of trouble? That's really what the buffer is for. The buffer is there as your own personal safety net, so that it will hold you until you can get yourself out of trouble. And then, of course, the first thing you need to do is, replenish your buffer. So you can't really start to not invest in a really stable way, just like you can't have really stable, healthy relationships until you have healthy boundaries. You can't, develop your relationship with money to the point where you can start to invest it until you have your buffer boundary, essentially, which is there to protect your investments from, short-term financial woes. All right. So that doesn't mean that you're just putting your buffer together, though, because that's going to take a little while. But the whole point is that when you get your buffer together, you are going to then, when you get past that, you're going to start to be making investments. So in the next installment in this particular series, I'll talk more about that. But I'll just leave you with this thought, because this is something that you can start to think about while you're working on your buffer. Remember, this is about your money. It's about mutual expansion. So you don't want to end up, just because you're getting money, you don't want the money to start to distract you from who you really are. You want your money to be a self-support system. You want it to be there to support you to be more of who you really are. So one of the things you might want to do is, you might want to, while you're putting your buffer together, you might want to think about your values, and you might want to think about, where you're prepared, or where it is in alignment with your values for you to invest, and where it isn't, and what way that you would be comfortable in investing. For example, I am not comfortable in investing in petrochemical companies for very obvious reasons. But that's me. I mean, people who do invest in petrochemical companies, they obviously get a really good return. So that's a choice that you need to make. But you don't want to be feeling like your relationship with money is costing you your relationship with yourself, because that is going to create trouble on other levels. Okay, so have a think about that. Have a think about, work out how much of a buffer that you might need. If you want to let us know, put it in the comments below, or, send us your questions. But otherwise, keep working on that, because sooner or later you'll get to the point where you can have a mutually expansive relationship with your money, and that will enable you to remember that you're brilliant.